Hi, everybody. I'm Liz Walker, and welcome to this edition of Searching for Healing and Hope. We keep our promises. We're with you every Tuesday night. But before we get started, we want to bring our community even more and more to your community and make one big community. So we're going to ask you if you can just tap your share button, and you can share this stream with 5 people right now via direct message. So tap your share button and share the screen, because we're trying to grow this community of healing and hope as much as we can every week. Today's subject is about healing from trauma and stress through the body. Now, you probably know that trauma and stress can have considerable and lasting damage on us psychologically, on us emotionally. The experts warn us, however, that trauma also affects the body in lasting and very damaging ways if it's untended. One of the best books I've ever read on this subject is The Body Keeps Score by trauma specialist Bessel van der Kolk. I always try to share books with you, so that's one you might want to read. Our emotions can cause problems like gastrointestinal issues and inflammation and high blood pressure and sleeplessness, and the list goes on and on and on. And of course, there are countless ways to treat the symptoms of trauma, these physical symptoms, but one needs to get more attention. One way to treat trauma and stress is to get moving, to move the body, healing in motion. Exercise and artistic expression can make a big difference in the way that you deal with trauma and stress. And at Can We Talk, at our community training trauma program and trauma healing, we've used somatic practices since the very beginning. And the person who brought those practices to us is our special guest tonight, Leslie Salmon Jones. Leslie is just an incredible woman who's healing the world, I always say. She is a wellness coach, a dancer, a community activist. She's the founder of Afro Flow Yoga, which we're going to talk about, and she's a specialist in mind-body healing. So we want to bring Leslie on, Micah, so that I can see one of the most beautiful women in the world who's just healing the world. Leslie, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Reverend Liz. It's such an honor to be here. And I would argue that you are the most beautiful woman.
Oh, please. I'm your fan. And you're our guest now for special reasons. You are one of our most special guests. But one of those reasons is you're in right now, Marbella, Costa Rica?
Yes, that's correct. Marbella, Costa Rica, on the Pacific coast of Costa Rica. The sun just set, so we're an hour, if you're on the East Coast, we're an hour behind you. And I've been here with my husband, Jeff, who is the co-founder of Afro Flow Yoga, for 2 months doing healing work. We led 4 retreats, and now we're having our own little retreat of writing and recording and reflection.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, I met you many, many years ago, and one of the things that you did for us was to bring your healing work to Can We Talk in Roxbury. And I remember the conversation. A lot of the women who were at that first night that you came and showed us some different things, techniques to do, a lot of the women had done nothing before. This was the first time that they do. What did you find when you came to our church basement and started working with our community?
Yeah, I remember that. That was quite some time ago. And I remember a lot, we had people in a circle.
Yeah.
And I remember we started with the simple breath. Because the breath was like it's a beautiful gateway into the body, and it's portable, and it's a wonderful way for people. Oftentimes, people have a lot of fear or uncertainty around movement, or they're not sure if they can do it. There's people with ability, and particularly people who've been highly traumatized, tend to we go into the nervous system. We have the parasympathetic nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system, And we might be in a state of being frozen or, flight, and the flight could be where we're kind of getting out of the body because that's where the pain is. Mm-hmm. So inviting people into going into a place where they might be holding on to so much trauma and pain and memory, it requires going with really, really gentle and something that is accessible. And it's the breath. I remember that.
You were so kind and gentle, and you offered us a soft way into even thinking about movement. And I remember the breath too, because many of these women had never even considered the body. I remember you're saying something like they're kind of cut off from their own bodies. A lot of women who've been through, it was a particularly female crowd that night, but a lot of women who'd been through trauma. So you explained to us about the breathing, and I've just got to tell you, I won't ever forget that night, because it was a revelation for some of those women in the room to be all right with their own bodies.
Absolutely. And it's a journey. And when I talk about being cut off from like the neck down, like so head up, in Western culture, in our society, it's very heady. Oftentimes it's like we're, paying more attention. And I also attribute it to the disconnection to nature. I think of the body as nature. So it's, when we go in, particularly women and who've had some sexual trauma, for example, there could be so many stories in our bodies that we're holding that it can be terrifying to even sit with yourself.
Yeah. Well, you helped us release that night. And I think you changed a lot of lives, and I even remember that some women, like you said, who couldn't, physically couldn't get up and maybe dance or something, you let them sit in the chair and do some things.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you remember, but when we start our circles, when we start out, we invite the practice, and it's a practice of non-judgment. And then when I say non-judgment, it starts with the self, because oftentimes when we try something new, we have so many judgments that come up, like I can't do it, I'm not this enough, or I'm not enough, or whatever the judgments are. So the invitation is to slow down, go into the breath, not to suppress those judgments, but to notice them, and when they come up, to take a breath and release. And then practice also not judging others, because oftentimes we have the tendency to look around the room. Oh, how come that person has their arm higher than mine, or whatever it is. All the monkey mind, we call it, is very activated. Yeah. So again, the invitation to go into the breath. And I must say also, what's also really helpful, and we'll talk about this later, is the music. And the music has a calming factor to help, people get at ease, because it's also a way to not to distract, but to come into, like, to release some of the thoughts. Just the music, the rhythms, and the vibration has a different effect on the cells.
Right. Well, that's a great segue to bring in your beloved Jeff, because this is a team effort, and you guys have worked together all from the very beginning. So I'm going to invite Jeff Jones in to sit with his wife. And this is the team, the founding team, the creators of Afro Flow Yoga. So Micah, I know we have a video. Can we show the video of what Afro Flow Yoga is? This is from, I think, New York City. And it's a beautiful video, and I think Micah is going to show it right now. I'm trying to talk as slowly as I can, Micah, to give you time to cue the video. Do you have it? He's putting it up right now.
Right.
I know it's coming.
Yeah, and we just want to take this moment to say hi to the audience and how grateful we are to.
Thank you, Reverend Liz, for inviting me in.
Jeff, please. I'm sorry. I was so excited about the video and you. I didn't say welcome, but I wanted to show what you do, because the music is so important. And I don't know if we're not going to be able to. So why don't we just talk to Jeff a while, and then Micah, if you get the music on, you will tell us. But the whole thing is not just the movement, but moving to a beat. How did you guys together and the video about the journey and bring more people in? And God, we absolutely pray for our healing in this really, really wounded world. In the name of all that we hold holy, for me, that's Jesus. That's beautiful. Now this is, I don't know if you can hear me, but these people haven't practiced this. They learn this when they get together with you, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Many people are new to the flow. We call it the Afro Flow Yoga.
And that was at Alvin Ailey in New York City. And
how did this all get started for you guys, Jeff? How did you discover Afro Flow, or was it over a period of time that it all kind of came together?
We started doing projects together even prior to Afro Flow Yoga. So when we met, we did some choreography, and I wrote some music for Leslie to help some. It was at a hair show Intercoiffure, yes, Salon Capri, and it was again movement and music, and that was one of the initial starts of Afro Flow Yoga. And of course, Leslie started in Sedona, Arizona, and that was been 17 years ago.
Wow.
That she began with some Brazilian drummers.
Right. And it was really after 3 of our parents passed away. We've been married. It'll be 29 years in August.
Wow. Wow.
Our first 10 years was really caregiving our parents. So after 3 of our parents passed away, we wanted to learn more about our ancestry. So we went to West Africa, Ghana, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, Benin. We went into the slave dungeons because it was returning home. It was answering the prayers of our ancestors to want to return. So we did that, and through that, a lot of the generational trauma came up in the body. For me, particularly in my womb. And I had to do 2 years of deep healing, deep prayer, and healing work, and traveling. We went to Haiti and Jamaica and learned more and more and more. More was revealed about the importance and practice of movement and yoga and dance and music.
So you come to a community that may or may not know anything about Afro Flow Yoga, and you just tell us what you just told us. And then how do we get into it's Jeff's drums, and how does it all begin on any one session?
I want to go back and there was a time when at our first session, we had a blind participant, right? And I remember Leslie was kind of moving her hands, and so the music was really vital to her not being able to see the movement. And yes, that really was something that really stood out for me, for us.
Yeah. And so in answer to your question, when people come and they don't, they have different abilities, when they hear, certain tones, it helps them relax, but also creating that container of belonging, of welcoming. Doesn't matter what age, ability, size, level you are.
And it starts out gentle. So I start out with very soft tones, just like the breath. I have tones of chimes, and then I have other African instruments. I have my kalimba. So we gently get into the vibrations to get people first relaxed, and then slowly ramp up into the movement. And then the drums come in, and I also play bass. So I have my uke bass, or sometimes I bring an acoustic bass, and I sing along with the accompanying the music in certain tones. And a lot of times we bring in jazz.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we have a lot of times I'll do some Al Jarreau, or other amazing artists, or some Pharoah Sanders, or might be playing some Miles Davis along. And then there are African songs that we do with all the different deities, right?
When I was introducing you, I forgot to say all the things that you do, Jeff. You're a multi-instrumentalist, a recording artist, a musical director, a composer. So you both bring so much talent to this idea of giving to the community. What I like about doing Afro Flow Yoga is once you kind of draw me in, once I get out of my head, just like Leslie said, because at first you're there, you think, okay, I can't dance. These people they're going to be thinking I'm stupid. I'm going to trip over. I just go through this whole thing in my, then the music just kind of says, be quiet, girl, and just listen to me.
Yes. We have many participants that have raised their kids and haven't moved their hips in years. We have to tell them, okay, you have to take it easy at first, because they'll lose that self-consciousness very quickly with the different rhythms, and it reminds them of a lot of people have been into dance. I mean, I grew up, my parents were into dance. I played in dance bands, so it was important to play the right thing at the right time to get people comfortable. Yeah, so that's
well, when Leslie, you mentioned this a little bit before. Why are we so, if you could just expound a little more on this, why are we so in this culture? And I would say, well, you'll tell me, in Black communities, it seems to me we are disconnected from our bodies, even though we come from a heritage, we come from a culture that was all about dance, African dance. And so what happened to us that we got so removed from that part of ourselves?
Yeah, I would definitely attribute it to a colonial system, a system of colonialism, capitalism, consumerism, where, by design, when we were in West Africa, we learned that people had PhDs to learn how to dehumanize the African people. So there was a real process in breaking us down and separating us from our families, even from some of the rhythms and some of the things that kept us alive. And this is why I say in the church, in the Black church, a lot of those traditions of song and dance and movement remained, because that's where people were able to express themselves. However, in Western culture, even in many cultures, people had to assimilate, whether it was a forced assimilation or not. But
okay, I lost the audio.
We have people that come that admit after they've started moving around that they haven't danced. We had one participant just 2 weeks ago. He hadn't danced in 8 years. And now he's taking that home and he's going to dance up the storm. We had another participant years ago who had never danced. And he was like, this is the first time I've danced. And he was probably in his late 20s.
Yeah. Well, when I was a kid, you talked about the church, Leslie. When I was a kid, I couldn't dance. My father, somewhere along the line, we went from church dancing to no dancing in churches. Not all denominations, but some denominations got removed from that, even in the church. And my father thought it was evil to dance, which I look back and say, Daddy, what were you thinking? But there were so many things that were stopping us from being ourselves, I think, at some point.
So to that point, Liz, that was one of the methodologies that we learned, was to take things that brought people strength and lifted their spirits, was to take those away. It's like a root, cutting the root of what that was, and then saying it's evil. And so then we began to believe that things that actually help liberate us and help lift our spirits, bring us closer to God, was evil.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty wild. But now we're beginning to, well, not now, you've been doing this for many years, but this is spreading now, and more people. And it's not just something for Black people. So let me clear myself up there. I said that, but you're for everybody. We all need liberation. We all need freedom. from the things that are holding us down and keeping us with toxicity in our bodies and in our spirits. Don't you agree?
Yes.
The drum is the essence of every culture. So I have my djembe, my bongos, my congas, and I travel with those. And everybody can relate to those. So from all cultures, whether it's the Irish and the Scottish with their, marching drums. And so everybody feels it, and it triggers them to their DNA.
Yeah. We also say the original drum is the heart, the heartbeat. And so when we bring people into the awareness of their hearts, that drops them out of their heads. So then we can continue to cultivate, care and love and compassion and community.
Right. That's beautiful.
I want to mention that Alvin Ailey and the church, as far as the different songs, that's where Leslie's root. And a lot of churches were supporting of Alvin Ailey. You would see a lot of folks there. And that's all about the movement, which is so beautiful.
Yeah. And I think that's what's happening now. The churches are beginning to open up. Churches have been doing this. I don't want to indict churches. I'm just saying that when I was a child, I can only speak from my own experience, but we're all trying to do this now. And contemplative practices are coming back because they heal us. But let me ask you both this. How is this healing happening? If I come to one Afro Flow Yoga session, am I healed? Or what goes on that one time?
Well, I would say healing is quite a process. And I would say it opens you up to the pathway of healing. And Afro Flow Yoga has been a gateway for many people because when they come into it, oftentimes they'll go and explore something else. They'll come back to Afro Flow. We have our beautiful community, and then they might explore something else. So we find it's been a really open door to the process of healing. Because the healing, it's like the layers of the onion. You keep peeling and peeling and peeling, and you can uncover so much. And I say, Liz, I've been on this healing journey for over 30 years, and I'm still healing because the planet and we're all healing, right? So yeah. So there's not any one time. I just want to do this little disclaimer. Your audio is cutting out for me. It might be cutting out for those who are listening. So I may ask you to repeat some things. But the fact that we are talking to you and you're in Costa Rica, I'm in Florida, Micah's in Baltimore. This is I'm old enough to know this is really amazing that we're having this conversation all the way around the world. So
you're in the jungle.
You're in the jungle, aren't you?
Yes.
You go around the world to different retreats and you set up places. You set up healing spaces. Tell me about some of the things. What do you do in Costa Rica?
Yeah, so we've been working at this retreat center called Blue Spirit in Nosara for the last 9 years. Every January, February, we've been working with Bessel Vanderkook, who you mentioned, and a lot of trauma healers, trauma therapists rather, and different thought leaders, social activists. And so we do something called Wisdom and Wellbeing Weeks, where you can come and you can get a combination of different presenters, and each week has a theme. So it's been such a gift. And then we do our Afro Flow Yoga. We might do an Afro Flow Yoga intensive where people come just for a whole week of Afro Flow Yoga.
We have 90 to 130 people each week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And you have people from all over the world. We have I don't know if you saw this from Viviana Planin from Thailand, said hello. So wherever you are, just let us know where you're calling from or where you're logging on from or punching in from. I don't know the language, but because we're interested in finding you from all over. So people come and you work with, you mentioned, Leslie, all the other people that you work with, social activists and therapists. Now, what is that kind of cross discipline doing? I'm getting old, so the words don't come often very. cross discipline. How does that work? You have meetings, or they do Afro Flow Yoga, or what?
Well, they do. We even work with a poet, a couple of poets. David White, he's an Irish poet. So it's people are really in their head, so they need other things to release their bodies from sitting and listening to all the therapeutic talk, and so it creates a balance.
Mm-hmm. So in a day I might hear a lecture, and then I might dance, and then I might, okay. What were you going to say, Leslie?
And we weave themes in. So what we're finding is that we've been presenting at Vessel Vanderkook's Trauma Conference for the last few years. And what they're really realizing is the importance of movement, because a lot of therapists are actually coming now to our training, our Afro Flow Yoga training, because they're realizing talk therapy, as important as it is, it's not quite getting the whole being, the whole person. Mm-hmm. So they're really coming into somatic practices more so. This is the buzzword these days of somatic practices, that movement basically.
Correct.
And body sensations, like to being able to recognize like whatever's going on in the head, that memory, it's still in the body. It's that Vessel says the body keeps the score. So you can go through it in your head, but if the body still is holding on to it, it's not quite metabolizing or healing.
Right. And it's never an either or thing, is it? It's never the body or the mind. It's both and, correct? It's all of those that we need to think about.
Yes. And like, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Rise. I highly recommend to the listeners and to you to look for Rise. You can get it on YouTube. And it's such a beautiful example of how it's youth in Compton. And there was a lot of gang violence, and they transformed that energy into dance. Mm-hmm. And it's so beautiful. And they used to have these competitions, and then you would see their movement. And then there was a film of like an African tribe somewhere in like West Africa. And you could see that the movements were the same. It was the same kind of movement. Mm-hmm. And so the memory is in the body of like how we know how to heal.
Right.
We know how to heal.
And I think that sometimes, of course, we need medication. So I'm not anti-medication, but we do over-medicate, I believe, in many instances when we have what we need in our bodies and in our spirits and in our minds. I think the older I get, the more I think that's true. Would you agree?
Totally. I have so many stories, but like I know we're short of time. And
we're not short of time. Tell us.
I could share a story about a friend of mine who she shares a story, so I have her permission to share it. She was a refugee from the Congo, and she's albino, and beautiful, amazing young lady. And she made her way from the Congo. She was orphaned to Rwanda to the United States. She found a foster family who took her in. And her foster family, once a year, unbeknownst to them, it was the anniversary that she saw her parents, unfortunately, violently murdered in front of her. So every year she'd go into her room, she'd close her door, turn up the music, and dance for hours. Well, they thought she was having a mental episode, so they kept trying to hospitalize her on that day. And she's like, no, I know what I need. This is all, and then it's done, So that it's kind of a Western way of fearing something, like when someone's expressing something in the body that might not look normal.
Right.
So we got to medicate, so these are the things that we're learning.
And Wyatt talked about this in another episode, right?
Right. Wyatt Jackson, who is one of our creative arts director of Can We Talk?
Yes. A plug for Wyatt, doing wonderful work.
Yes.
And we also, during Afro Flow Yoga, sometimes I'll do Wade in the Water. So there's spiritual connections to different things, even civil rights songs. So it's the spirit also is being healed.
It's all connected. I think the spirit of the civil rights movement is why the civil rights movement made it, because of the spirit, because of dance, because we were, that's how we got stronger. And I was just a child then, but you would see, the marchers singing songs. I ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, or wade in the water, or nobody knows. All those were the songs that kind of kept us strong and kept us going. So that movement has always been very important to us. Yeah. And you have both helped us claim it. What are your dreams and your visions for the world? I mean, we're in such a toxic space right now, and I'm not going to get political, but it is. I mean, we're polarized. We're all scared. We're all fighting each other. We're hoarding. We're doing all kinds of things. That what are your dreams and wishes for healing of the world? Big question.
To bring joy. That's what we've been doing, and continue to bring joy in these painful times. That's where it starts.
Yeah.
And our mission also, Reverend Liz, is to cultivate and co-create a culture of care for self, our collective, our family, our global family, and the planet and the earth, for all. And this idea of care, it's like, I feel like we've gotten lost. Like, what does it mean to even care, for ourselves, and then care for each other, and then even the connection to Mother Earth. Like, we throw plastic out and all kinds of things, and it's like, that's where our food sources come from. So,
right. So we have to restore our care. We're going to bring Micah on. Micah Myers is my technical engineer, the guy who gets us on this streaming program, and it's so funny. Hi, Micah. There you go, Micah. You had some questions that we were going to ask those who are watching, so that our community can all discuss the questions. Do you want to put some out there?
Yes, I would love to. So this is a wonderful discussion tonight, and we would love, if you're watching, to join the discussion and put your comments, so everyone can read them here, and we'll put them up on the screen. So our first question was, like, what types of movements are people using, in their daily lives, to bring a sense of joy or peace, in your daily life? So we'd love to hear from you what y'all have to say. And Reverend Liz, I know that you do a lot of biking as a way to feel joyful and adventure. So
I hurt my knee, so I didn't want to get knee surgery. So I decided to ride a bike many years ago. And I'm not fast, and I don't go long distances, but it's rhythmic for me to get on a bike and just, there's something about that rhythm of the wheel. And it's grounding for me to be outside. And the one reason I moved to Florida was because I could be outside a lot on the bike. So that's my movement. But you know what I do now? You know how you get old, you just lose all filters. I dance by myself. I will put music on in my little apartment. It's a very tiny apartment. And I will dance all the way around this apartment by myself. I'm sure if anybody saw me, they'd probably call the police or something, but I have a good time. Because why not, right? Life is short. Why not move? How about you, Micah? Do you do anything? Do you?
Yeah, I love to dance. I dance. I dance on my own a lot. Music is a big part of my life. I love music. And so, I think that just like when music kind of just gets you to the point where you don't have the same reservations or inhibitions, you're able to just like let yourself release that, that stress, it can be really, really amazing. And when you were talking about that, you had met people who had never danced in their whole life. I was just like, oh my goodness, that is so. So what was that like? What was that experience like? Like, for them when they were experiencing that for the first time, like witnessing that, what was that like?
Life-changing for that person. We could see it in his eyes, and just everything, just like he came alive, just like the person who hadn't danced in 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of tears of joy.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just gonna say we had Nina Lewis saying prayer and singing gospel, and I love gospel. That's really important. Absolutely.
And I was just going to say that in the church, you know, I go to a CME church, and the music is amazing. It's a small church, but the music is really amazing, and you can feel it moving through your body. You can feel the spirit moving through your body, and you want to dance there. You know, for all the Holy Spirit and getting happy and all of that. And that's a very healing thing too. In church, at home, in the park, wherever. You know, I think we should be doing a lot more dancing these days.
When I'm home, I play it in the church in Duxbury. It's Osborne's church every Sunday. So I'm playing bass there. So we're playing a lot of new contemporary gospel music, which is beautiful, and people are moving.
And I'm glad, yeah. Sharon Willis, who is here in Sarasota, says music and dancing is healing. Music always lifts my spirit. So I've seen Sharon I go to Sharon's church, and I see her there moving. We're all moving, and
absolutely.
And when we need more movement. What other advice would you give people? And I'm going to let Mike. I know you've got more questions to ask the community, but Leslie and Jeff, what other advice would you give folks out there to do themselves self-care?
Well, we down here, we just did a couple of days ago a 7-mile run. So we walked for a half a mile, ran for a half a mile, and it's for 7 miles over 7 connected beaches.
Wow!
So these beaches, and they're pristine. There was nobody there. This is a really an amazing area. I guess they're all people congest in other areas, but it's a lot of driftwood and natural beauty. Yeah, so that's
great. What's the very least that somebody can do? Because, you know, I know there are people, I can hear them in my heart right now. People going, I'm not going 7 miles. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I would say, you know, I always say, as I started at the beginning of this conversation, with the breath, because breath is movement. It gets the energy flowing. Because, you know, not everyone can move. Many people are, you know, start on a chair. You know, start really gentle, you know, put on some music. And sometimes it's like, just listen to your body. Because a lot of people, we don't have a relationship with our bodies. Sometimes when there's lack of trust there, like, ooh, am I going to hurt myself? Oh, if I do this, like, there's a lot of dialogue. So when you can go into your breath, simple breathing exercise, I'll just give it to you right now. You just sitting on a chair. You can place a hand on your heart and your belly and make sure your feet are connected to the earth. You close your eyes and begin to locate where your breath is. And then if it's available through your nose, to inhale and imagine your belly like a balloon and fill your belly up like a balloon. Allow it to expand. And then on the exhale, imagine you're exhaling out of a straw and slowly draw your belly to your spine as if you're deflating the balloon. And you can do this like 4 counts in, 4 counts out. And oftentimes I invite maybe a deep sigh, so the inhale. And maybe exhale, The sigh helps you just relax and release and coming into this present moment. So even a few minutes of breathing, and as you do so, you can relax now and notice how you feel, just with that little bit of breath.
Yeah. I noticed it in my shoulders just as you were speaking. So we can just do just that. This is so wonderful.
The wrists, the shoulders, the neck, you know, little gentle movements to awaken. Because especially if we're at our computer, sometimes we sit here for hours and we don't realize it, and everything stiffens up. So this, like you said, that awareness of the shoulders.
Yeah, beautiful.
You know, I was going to ask this to the audience too, but you know, what are some of your favorite small, like, relaxing stretches, like when you're having, you know, like moment of feeling overwhelmed? Is there like any stretches that you're partial to? And then if anyone has, particular go-tos, you could tell us in the comments. But I would love to hear from y'all first. What are your favorite stretches?
Stretches. Leslie?
Well, I would say, I love to start with the neck and just like stretching out the neck. Oftentimes, Micah, you remember if you observe cats and dogs, they're always stretching. And so anything like tilting the head up and down with the breath. I find my neck as I get older, the neck gets stiff. I don't know if you all feel that. And the shoulders, rolling the shoulders around. Simple. I start with the head down to the toes, the heart,
Looks like an Afro Flow Yoga class.
Don't get me started now.
This has been so great. This has been so great. I think that people have been responding. Nina says old gospel songs are therapy for her. So that works for me too. Old gospel songs and prayer. I don't think about prayer necessarily as therapy. I think about prayer as communicating, but I suspect that prayer is therapy as well to release, so prayer, meditation, all of that is a way to heal. I want to thank you, Leslie and Jeff. When do you guys come back to the USA?
Well, we were going to come back tomorrow, and then we extended till Monday because we're really enjoying having time to reflect and to write. I'm writing a book.
Oh, good.
Recording.
Working on our video series. Yeah, that should be out in just a couple of weeks. A new series that we shot in Costa Rica. Of Afro Flow Yoga.
Okay. Would you when your book is ready, would you bring it back to our space here? We would love to have you talk about it, Leslie.
Honored. It would be a great honor.
But we'll be back on Monday.
Yeah, we'll be back in Boston on Monday.
Okay. Well, we'll give ourselves a little time between this time and you're finishing the book. You think you'll finish it in the next few months or a year or what?
Well, you can put a little pressure on me and let's see what I get.
Yes.
No, as a woman who just finished a book, and that's you, Micah, you can put up my book now. I think our book is released, but it will be released. No One Left Alone. It's going to be released on Amazon in a few weeks. You can pre-order now. It took me 3 years to write this book, but I want to tell people we definitely want you to pre-order it. It is launched on April 8th around the country, and it's about collective healing. So it's about what we can do to create healing communities. We have a healing community here in Sarasota. We have one in Boston. We have 17 of these now around the country, and we suspect it'll grow even more. So we're all talking about what we need to do to heal. Thanks, Micah. But let me thank our special guest again. Oh, there you are. You're still here. I lost you. It's all new to me. I had to find you on the screen. Leslie Salmon Jones, Jeff Jones, Afro Flow Yoga, our good friends who are literally healing the world. So thank you again for taking time out with us tonight, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you. Congratulations on the book. It's perfect timing. Can't wait to read it. And thank you to a beautiful audience in Micah.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Have a nice night. Thank you.
Again, and thank you all for joining us. God bless you all. Micah, we can say good night. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.